So we're talking about organic principles. Nothing happens in living nature is not in relation to the whole. That's by a quote by Goethe, a famous poet. And that, to me, sums up the founding principle of organics and how everything is completely interconnected. So today we're going to cover the principles of holism, natural approach, diversity, inclusion, bioregionalism, soil health, and knowledge of crops. So holism, or the holistic approach, is really looking at the big picture. In terms of some practical application of this, permaculture design is really the tool that we can use to create our holistic system. So permaculture considers all aspects, the human needs and the environmental needs, and works out the best way to implement them on individual properties. So you can do this at home. You can also do this in a lifestyle property. So whether you're small, an urban dweller, or a rural dweller, it doesn't matter. The design system applies to each. Something important to think about within permaculture is the placement of things or elements. This is referred to as zoning. It's related to energy efficiency. We put those things, those elements that we use or visit most closest to us, and those we use least furthest away. The house garden is obviously close, and the chicken house and the orchard may be in zone 2, and a larger property, the shelter belts and woodlots, zone 3. So in terms of localization, it's about gathering the resources, if you like, from your wider community. The resources could be seeds that are saved there. They could be plants that grow and naturalized in the region. It could also be various people with various skills that you can draw on. Localization could also refer to how you garden, and it doesn't have to be a lonely venture. And you can knock down your fence and have a neighborhood garden, supporting an old person who can't garden and younger people who haven't got room. Or you could create a gardening group, club. You could have a community garden in a vacant patch of land that isn't being utilised. That way you're drawing on local resources and gardening. So closing the cycle is really referring to maximising energy efficiency. Instead of wasting your grass clippings, you turn them into valuable compost. Same with your food scraps. Collecting the water off your roof and storing it till when you really need it. Transferring your grey water to feed your fruit trees. These things are all strategies to create as closed a cycle as possible, therefore more sustainable. So organic gardening really is all about the natural approach, utilising non-toxic practices to our own ends. We are looking at healthy options rather than those things that are going to have a detriment to the environment. The commercial grower, on the other hand, is discarding that in their ignorance. They use chemical substances that have damaged the surrounding environment. They may have practices that are detrimental to the soil, like overstocking, or the use of soluble fertilizers that end up in rivers, polluting the waterways. The organic movement came about really because of the use of these nasty chemicals. In Rachel Carson's book, The Silent Spring, she highlighted the impact of toxins in our world. The organic approach, or the natural approach, is all about looking at non-toxic substances in order to be able to grow things, because we really care about our environment and those that are in it. Diversity really is about stability. And how we know about this is by looking at nature. And of course this is what they've done in permaculture too. It's what it's based on, looking at nature. Nature does not have a single species. It's made up of layers of many species, from the ground covers to the shrubs, to the trees, to the canopy trees, and of course the climbers. In our own environments, home environments, we take that same idea and we try and add as much diversity to the system as possible, thereby creating stability. So diversity of species, we're not just talking about plants, but providing a whole lot of plants mixed species. That is from natives right through ornamentals, flowers, fruits, vegetables. We're creating a diverse ecosystem, a place where lots of organisms can occupy that zone and therefore create balance and compensate for changes, say in the climate or even just seasonal influences, even natural disasters, by having a diversity of organisms present. Not one single species is lost, they support each other. Unlike monocultures, where you have a single species with a natural disaster or a plague of locusts, for example, the entire crop can be lost. Diversity equals stability. So, for example, how we can apply this principle at home, we have a number of different examples. So we're talking really about mixed plantings, so it's a mixed food source for these organisms. We can do this by having mixed species in shelter belts. We can have herbaceous and floriferous borders, if you like, bringing in lots of different insects. We can have intercropping when we're growing vegetables. Companion planting, say with vegetables, herbs, flowers, and even fruits integrated together. We've also got forest gardening, coined by Robert Hart, where you've got your fruit trees and your canopy trees all mixed together with your herbs and vegetables, etc. So these are examples of strategies to create stability in our system that we're dealing with. So another principle we have is inclusion, and really what we're talking about here is acceptance. In organic production, we are accepting the fact that there will be losses. It's not all about food for us, we're actually talking about food for all the organisms in the ecosystem, because again we care. Inclusion versus production, we're accepting some losses. So we're not freaking out and having to annihilate all the pests present, we are accepting the fact that they have a place. It really is an appreciation of the idea we're all in it together. Everything has its place. So bioregionalism, another principle. Getting to know your region is really quite critical for being a good gardener. Understanding your climate will influence greatly what you can grow there. Sussing out your microclimate in your region if you're looking at buying somewhere, or even if you are creating a collective. Where can I grow avocados? Where can I grow carrots? That gets us onto the soil types. There are some soils that are better suited to other crops as well. Also thinking about the resources that are available. That includes the people that may be able to support you in what you're doing. It's the services, technical support, machinery even. Farmers with all their resources. And that gets us onto those resources, the physical resources, whether it be manure from them and hay, but also local spots for seagrass and seaweed. They are all invaluable. So soil health, another key principle. In fact, it really is the key principle of the organic movement. Healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy people, healthy planet. That's Soil and Health New Zealand's motto. Really, if you look at the Goethe picture at the beginning, soil underpins everything. So looking after the soil is critical. Also appreciating it as a living thing made up of countless microorganisms and other larger species, thus supporting all life above it. So how do we look after soil health? We're talking about composting as a primary activity. Developing beds in certain ways looks after the soil. Adding organic fertilizers and manures. Green crops or green manures. And rotating crops to ensure that we maintain fertility and deal with diseases and pests. So all these strategies, if you like, go toward maintaining a healthy soil. And really our goal, if we can, is to grow soil. The more soil we can grow, the more we can grow on top. So that's our goal. So another principle is knowing our crops. Part of that is understanding what crops are suitable to our area. That's our climate, our microclimates on our property as well, what we can grow where. Also understanding the various families that plants belong to, gives us an idea and understanding of crop rotations and how to manage those. Also, sowing and planting techniques. Along with that comes an understanding of the life cycles. These things influence how we go about saving seeds, crop placement, insect pest timings, understanding when they're going to come out and when they're not, so that we can set up strategies to deal with those. And also understanding the seasons and the timing of different crops. Again, that's the plant calendar, and this is really critical in order to avoid disappointment. So in conclusion, really what we're talking about is working with nature, not against her. Considering the whole picture, not just us, not just the human-centric view. So that goes for also being a good neighbour and thinking about the people over our fence. What's the old lady doing, and does she need a hand, and maybe we can garden together. Also looking at recycling what nature provides. Everything has a use, or ought to. Really, in the end, organic gardening is contributing to the survival of our planet. We have for too long now, in our modern mechanised food systems, been growing food at the detriment of the environment. Here's our chance to change things.